Harry the Horse Barbecue.
Tickle your ribs. Tickle, 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 tickle. Oh, you like that, huh? Welcome to Harry the Horse Barbecue, guys. Today what we got going is a big old slab of beef ribs. Sometimes these are called dino ribs. You know, they do come from brontosaurus, dinosaurs. Just kidding. No, but they're a big old hunk of meat, man. It literally looks like they came off of a freaking dinosaur. But these guys are probably the pinnacle of barbecue food. They're awesome eats. We're gonna get right into it. These guys are pretty simple to season up and get on the grill. Beef ribs, what you wanna do with them is, the main thing is you wanna leave this membrane on. This is going to keep the ribs together throughout the entire cook. So what can happen if you take this off, those bones want to slide out, they want to slide away, they basically want to pull off the meat from that low and slow cooking. We want to keep it all intact just so we can maneuver it. We're going to rotate during the cook, things like that. Where I got this slab of beef ribs is from the Marbled Meat Shop. Again, another great butcher, great butchery here in the Hudson Valley. But you can get small ones in your grocery store, and you can cook them up at home too. I like to go to the butcher to get, a big old slab like this, so you can have big meaty ribs at the end of this. In the grocery store, if you find these, what the butcher will do is the butcher will cut across the bones this way, and you get sort of these like individual chunks of beef short. This is going to be nice and moist and very tender at the end of the cook. I'm worried about this section up here. We got a big layer of fat in between. So we'll run with one experiment this way, just trimming up the top. In future videos, we'll try and take that whole piece off and see how that affects the cook. As I'm taking off this fat here, you can see the fat, like this is all fat, but then right here, it almost looks different. This is kind of like a silver skin, and this is kind of the reason why you want to get underneath all that fat. Like if you look over here, look at all the fat we've taken off. We're still going at it, but there's this silver skin sort of laying on top of the meat in some places. You can see some here too, right? That's just gonna create a barrier to our meat. We want to get that off. What we did here on the slab of beef ribs, we're doing sort of a little experiment within the cook. So you could see, we talked about earlier, the intense marbling that's going on in this layer of meat down here. We've taken off a lot of the fat on top, a lot of the silver skin. I've probably missed some spots. I left some fat on top of this side because cooking indirectly on the PK, we're very, very close to the fire. So just to be a little bit on the safer side, I want a little extra fat on top just so nothing burns or nothing dries out. So I left a couple spots. Other than that, we're relying on the intermuscular fat to keep the meat moist. On this side of our beef ribs, you could see this is almost like having a brisket flat on top of your beef ribs. And this cut of meat is pretty expensive, and I'm pretty frugal and I don't want to just chuck it. So we're gonna see if leaving this on this side is going to prevent any smoke flavor or any kind of other like smoke ring penetration, anything like that. If that's going to influence down here, we'll see if this piece actually dries out as well. I did leave a good amount of fat on top to sort of keep it moist. So we're going to see. This is all experimental, but since we are experimenting here and still working on the PK to check out its smoking qualities, we're just going to keep this simple with kosher salt, black pepper. I pretty much do like a 50-50 mix. I'll season with salt first, come back with black pepper, all around. You don't necessarily have to season the backside here where the membrane is. We're not gonna eat that. It's just gonna fall off. You're just gonna have the bone poking out at the end. Seasoning will fall off pretty much anyway. But we're gonna get all the sides and the top, and then we'll get ready to throw it on. Alright, so the beef ribs are all seasoned up with kosher salt and coarse black pepper. That's it. Light coating of it, that's going to create a nice bark. You don't need too much of it on there. If you've seen our how to smoke a pork butt on the PK grill, we're running the same exact process. We got Royal Oak lump charcoal rolling on there, getting nice and hot in the PK. So we're gonna get these guys on there. We'll take you outside for it. Yeah. You're so close. Why are you so close? Alright guys, so we're out with the PK. Lump charcoal's nice and hot. We're gonna throw the beef ribs on in a second. What kind of wood we're gonna run on here is apple wood. And I know you guys might be thinking, apple wood, that's for pork, that's for chicken. That is true, and a lot of people will run oak with beef, and that's great. But here where we live in New York, in the Hudson Valley, apple trees and apple orchards and apple wood is so ubiquitous. It's everywhere, you know, so we're just trying to stay local to the area we live in and, you know, have those flavors kind of influence the food that we're making. And here's some videos of us chopping wood.
So ready to make aguas frescas out of water.
Aguas frescas.
Oh!
Alright guys, so you can see how big of a slab of beef ribs this is in comparison to the size of our PK. We're going to scoot some of the coals back so we're a little bit further away. But we're going to have to rotate the slab of beef ribs probably every hour or so. You can see nice smoke rolling from the apple wood. We're going to have to rotate quite a bit because these are just like going to make it on the PK. So we'll take you along for when we spin it around. Alright guys, so we're maybe about an hour 20 into the cook. We're just taking a peek. We're going to add some more apple wood to our coals. What we're going to do is about maybe every hour or so, I'm just going to give it like a 90-degree turn and we'll keep rotating all the way around. So you can see right now, this is more going lengthwise. We're going to pick it up and we're going to move it going sort of horizontally. Woo! Be careful not to burn yourself. Alright guys, so rookie mistake. I was so worried about getting this on quickly so we didn't lose a lot of the daylight that I just completely forgot to put a water pan in. Alright, so just checking on these beef ribs. It's about 2.5 hours into the cook or so. We're building a nice bark on here. You can see. We don't want it to dry out. I'm going to start spraying it with some apple cider vinegar and some water that I just have in the spray bottle, about 50-50 ratio mix. We add a little more apple wood to it. We're just going to keep monitoring it. We're going to give it another rotate probably here after we spray, just to make sure we're evenly cooking throughout. You're starting to see some pullback here on the bone down there, but not really much anywhere else. Again, we're only 2.5 hours in, but we'll see that pullback occur more as the cook continues. Alright guys, so we're a little over 4 hours into the cook here. We're going to temp this out, we're going to see what it's reading, and then that'll kind of let us know whether it's time to wrap soon or not. The bark formation is great. We could wrap now if we wanted to, but let's take a couple temperature readings. So we're reading just under 180 in the thickest part. 184. We're looking for maybe that 200, 202 mark, somewhere around there. I'm going to spritz this down, and maybe about 30 minutes we'll bring you guys back for the wrapping process. All right, so we have pulled the beef ribs off of the PK. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up. I've just pulled off a couple of sheets of butcher paper. And I'm going to spray this down with our water and apple cider vinegar mixture just to make sure it stays moist. This piece here, we are trying to keep as moist as possible. I'm afraid of it drying out, but we'll see how that turns out in the end. The rest of this is looking good. The bark is looking nice, so we're just going to spray it up, wrap it, and then we'll throw it back on the PK for, my guess is another 2 hours. We were temping at about 185 earlier, so I'm guessing another 2 hours, but we'll see. Alright guys, so our chef alarm has temped out at about 203. It's climbing up to 204. But we're going to verify with the Thermapen just to make sure we're the same temperature throughout. 204. This has been about a 7-hour cook so far. So yeah, then we're just going to pull it off. We're going to rest it for about an hour. And that's about it. And I'll show you what it looks like when we unwrap it. Once again, beans. Smoking up more beans. Don't forget the beans. Alright guys, so we're going to be smoking up some more baked beans. If you want to know the recipe, let us know. in the comments section. I'm gonna cut up some of this meat. If you want to come take a look, if you remember at the beginning of this, we left this little piece on this end of the beef ribs. This is what I was calling the brisket, like flat portion of this. And you can see how it's pretty much ready to just fall off, which is why I considered cutting it off at the beginning, but just didn't want to waste it. So we'll slice this off. And what we're gonna do, we'll probably just cube that up and make like some burnt ends out of that. But all of these bones, literally the bones are off already. So we're just gonna slice this down, and that's about it. We'll see how we did. And you could see just how moist it is throughout. Nothing but rendered fat running through there. We didn't get much of a smoke ring. We might have caught a little bit of it here. Again, that's the risk we're running when we're burning chunks of wood in a charcoal grill. But the smoke ring, again, doesn't tell the whole story. We're gonna see how it tastes. So, let's see. Let's get a piece of this guy right here. Let's see how we do. Kind of a large chunk. Take the top parts, we get a nice piece of bark. Take a look at this. Can you see it? A little bit of a smoke ring, very tiny. Nice bark on the outside. Very moist meat, very tender. Let's see how we did. It tastes really good. Oh my goodness. That's why you can't base it off the smoke ring.
Feed the cameraman.
Feed the cameraman. Let's do that again. A little bit of fat, a little bit of bark, a little bit of meat on there. All right, guys, so let's recap what we did. We started with a big 4-bone slab of beef short ribs. A lot of fat on top. We trimmed a lot of it off so we can get smoke penetration. We left a little bit so we can render the fat down, keep the meat moist. We relied a lot on the intermuscular fat to keep the meat moist throughout the cook, and we did a great job of that. We threw it on the PK running applewood. We ran that for about 4 hours, 4.5 hours. Wrapped it up, and then let it go for another about 3 hours or so. And a total of about 7 hours on the PK. We're proving here that you can use that PK for great quality smoking. Whether you get a smoke ring or not, the flavor, the meat, it just tastes really awesome altogether. So, you know, you guys just keep on smoking out there, keep grilling it up. We're gonna do our thing here, and we've already tasted it, but I think we need to taste some more of it. What do you guys think? Oh yeah, I think the dogs liked it too. Thank you guys for tuning in to Harry the Horse Barbecue. Hopefully this video helps you learn how to smoke beef ribs, and we're just gonna continue to dive into this. This is what's for dinner tonight. Hopefully you guys do it too. Try some of these pieces again. That is good. Damn, that's good. Share the last piece.